Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Noelle, and today we're doing something different. We are going to talk about my visits to the National Museum and the National Museum of Natural History. So one of my very dear friends, Chrissy, celebrated her birthday last Wednesday. Before the pandemic started, the national museums in the Philippines were all declared to have free admission. But then, of course, the pandemic hit and a lot of these places closed during our community quarantines. So nobody really was able to take advantage of the free admission until now. So we all got to talking amongst ourselves. We were a group of friends and cousins, and yeah, we decided, and Chrissy wanted to go to the museums on her birthday, so we obliged her. For me personally, the last time I was at the National Museum, we were still only using film cameras. We didn't have cell phones like this. It's the old legislative building way back during the American colonial period. But yeah, these places were repurposed. So the last time I was in that area at all to visit the National Museum was maybe 30 years ago. If you're an adult, present your vaccination card and a valid ID. If you have children, they don't have to be vaccinated, but the adult accompanying those children must have been vaccinated. That's just a general rule, I think, when accessing these museums. They do have a few rules, however, that you have to respect. Rule number one is no flash photography. So if you're going to take pictures, take them without flash because flash degrades the art. It fades paints, it fades pigments. So yeah, no flash photography. Another rule they have is you're not supposed to imitate the poses or be disrespectful to the artwork. So, for instance, in front of the spoliarium, you're not supposed to imitate the poses of the Roman soldiers pulling the bodies across the ground. Also, no food and drink. And most importantly, no videography. So, yes, even with cell phones, you can't really take video. If they catch you taking video, they will ask you to delete the file from your phone or camera. So, yeah, just take photos. If you want to simulate the motion of a video, take burst photos as you move through an art space. So yeah, we were able to see a lot of works by renowned Filipino artists. The main centerpiece for the National Museum is the Spoliarium, painted by Juan Luna. It still fills me with that same sensation of awe as when I first saw it 30 years ago. I also really love Juan Luna's Parisian artwork exhibit. It's very my aesthetic as a person, and so I really appreciated being able to see that side of him. And it was really nice to be walking through that and kind of live a little bit of that time period. It's something I would recommend every Filipino to do, just to make you feel more connected with the history that unites this archipelago. We are a very young nation considering that we first declared independence in the late 1800s, and then we actually acquired independence from our colonial masters only in the 1950s. And a lot of the people we recognize as our national heroes and our national artists, they were all within just the last 2 centuries of world history. It's nice to take a stroll through what feels like history as seen through the artworks of these people who were living that history. So if you're coming from the National Museum, you cross the street. Across the street is the the Museum of Anthropology. And that's where your parking is for the entire Rizal Park complex. Go further in, past the gate, you will enter that pedestrian rotunda where the statue of Lapu-Lapu is. To your left will be the relief maps of the Philippines, but that's currently being torn down. I think they're going to do something else with that space. To your right is the Orchidarium. So it's an exhibit of orchids. And then straight across is the Museum of Natural History. But the entrance to that isn't in that pedestrian rotunda. You'd actually have to go all the way towards the street again before you can enter the Museum of Natural History. It used to be the old Agriculture and Commerce building, I think, during the American colonial period. In 2012, during the Aquino administration, I think they started talking about refurbishing that building. I think it was already the home of the Museum of Natural History, but they decided to revamp that whole place. That revamp added a metallic structure in the middle of the building. So there was a courtyard. There used to be an open courtyard there in the middle of the building. They added something called the Tree of Life, which houses the scenic elevator. The Museum of Natural History actually just reopened on April 1st. So it's been closed for 2, 3 years already. In any case, the same rules also apply. So yeah, we went in. We didn't really have a lot of time left for the day, so we headed towards the top floor, the display of Lolong, which is the largest crocodile to be caught in the Philippines. He is preserved forever after he died in captivity. So they took his skin, they preserved it, and they displayed it there on the fifth floor, I think. I think his bones are in a different area of the Natural History Museum as well. There were also a few different exhibits about the ecosystems that you can find in the Philippines. So it's jungle and the lakes and all that. And you could see the indigenous flora and fauna that we have in the Philippines. I definitely think that if you're taking your kid to the museum, they would appreciate the National Museum of Natural History more just because of the animals on display. It's also very fully audiovisual because aside from what you can see, they also have sounds of the forest playing through a sound system, that sort of thing. It gives you a very 360 immersive feel. And I think kids would really appreciate that. There were also some really nice interactive screens. Let's say, for instance, you were familiarizing yourself in that exhibit with different kinds of mosses, different kinds of birds, and then you come across this screen where you're encouraged to answer a quiz and see if you got it right. So it helps a lot with information retention as well. I think my favorite display though was the sperm whale skeleton. It's basically, it used to be where the main entrance of the Natural History Museum was before they rerouted everyone to the other side of the building. But it is just a ginormous skeleton. They also have replicas of dinosaur bones, and we just had a little bit of fun with those bones, with those replicas. So it's something, it's going to be a highlight for your kids who love dinosaurs as well. I don't really go to art galleries and browse and try to appreciate beauty, and it just made me realize that yes, you do have to take the opportunity and these times to just sit and contemplate and look and appreciate. It's kind of like going to a park, right? Where you don't really have to spend anything. You just sit there, maybe have a packed lunch, and just breathe in the fresh air. Appreciate the greenery around you. Allow your brain and eyes to rest. I think that's something that in a very urban environment we are at risk of not doing for ourselves. So, yeah, take advantage of the free admission to the museums and go for it. Areas for improvement for these museums. Well, because there's no videography, you don't really find people in the hallways TikToking, but a lot of our youth these days, they discover the world through video. So I think it's a missed opportunity to restrict videography in these spaces. I understand that they're trying to prevent guerrilla shoots from happening. Like student films might be trying to shoot a scene inside the museum without taking the proper permits, and I think that's what they're trying to prevent. But I do think that there is a little bit more wiggle room to allow more recreational video to be taken so that you can really promote these museums to more people. Another thing is there really isn't a place to sit down and have something to eat after everything, after you've gone through the museum. I know in the National Museum, there is a small coffee shop, but you have to go down a floor from the main floor that you enter through, and there aren't a lot of signs that tell you that there's a coffee shop in the area, so you kind of miss the opportunity to have something to eat and support the, the upkeep of the museum. And another big missed opportunity is there were no gift shops. Every time I've gone to a museum or a national gallery in a different country, they always have a gift shop where you can buy souvenir tokens. I always get magnets from these places. We want to be able to support the art conservation efforts without relying overly on the government largesse. Some of these efforts can be self-sustaining if you just had an eye towards stuff like that, like merchandise. Especially the Museum of Natural History, you could have done like small model replicas of Lolong and that stuff. It would have been nice, or sell some stuffed toys that kids can appreciate and bring home with them so that they can remember the visit to the museum. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. If you found this video informative and entertaining, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you again next time. Bye!